Hello, my final students. In continuation of Emily Dickinson, we've done I Felt a Funeral in My Brain, and then we went on to do I Heard a Fly Buzz When I Died. Now I just changed the mood a little again. We'll do something like a beautiful poem, A Bird Came Down the Walk. Now, the poet is supposed to be sitting in her room, looking outside her window, and she sees this bird walk on the, that gravelled path that you make in the gardens. Okay, so she's walking on that, and that gives rise to this amazing, beautiful poem. Okay, she says, a bird came down the walk, he did not know I saw. Now this is beautiful. So this bird is coming on down the walk. The walk is that little pavement in the garden. And he did not know I saw. Now you have to read the words very carefully. The bird did not take a notice that the poet is watching it. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. Okay, now this is amazing. There is this angleworm, a small worm was passing by. He bit it, he took it in his beak, cut it into two halves and ate the worm raw. Of course, they don't cook as we all cook. Okay, so what does that tell you about nature? Mother Nature has all her system, all her things in a particular pattern. Everything is patterned, everything is systematic, everything follows a rule, everything actually is, is cause, effect, and the result is always the same in Mother Nature. It's a bit of an abstraction actually I'm getting into. What I want to tell you here is that everything in Mother Nature is planned, systematic, and it might appear violent to you, but it is not violent. Okay, if you look at the food chain, we consume everything on earth. Our Chinese friends, they consume what should not also be consumed. They consume that also, and we are paying the price of it. Okay, so basically, in biting and eating the angleworm raw, there can be, you can see nature's violence, but that is not violence, that is the system, and that violence is inherent in the system of nature. You can't question it. A bird has to eat the worm, the frog will eat the mosquito, the snake will eat the snakes, and the snakes will be eaten by a mongoose. The mongoose can be eaten up by a bigger animal, and this is how nature is working all the time. So he drank dew from a convenient grass, and after that, after fulfilling its hunger by eating the worm, it is thirsty, the bird is thirsty, so the bird goes and drinks the dew that on the grass. Convenient means close by, very near. So very near to it is the grass, and on the grass are the dewdrops. So very near, very much at ease with nature, with what Mother Nature is giving the bird. That bird goes and he drinks the dew, and then hopped sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. Now see how amazing. Now this is where you have to pay all your attention, children. And the bird then is hopping sidewise to the wall. Sidewise means, it was walking, it ate the worm, it drank the dew, and then it saw a beetle. Now beetle is a bigger insect, and maybe the bird doesn't prey on it, it doesn't eat it. So see the nature system. The bird actually shifted in on the side to let the beetle pass, and the beetle then passed from there. Okay, so it is eating the worm, drinking water, but letting the beetle pass. So what Mother Nature says, what does the poet say over here is that nature knows its path. Nature knows its ways. It's we who are confused, and we are confusing nature. Okay, nature has its systems all right. Okay. He glanced with rapid eyes, and now comes the mystery. The poet is watching it from the room. So when the bird is in the midst of natural things, it is very comfortable. One, it is attacking, and one, it is sparing. He knows what to do. But now the crunch comes now. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. Now he is looking all, with rapid movement of his eyes. He has some kind of a mystery. He has some kind of a uncertainty, some kind of fear, and that is somebody watching without being known. So he glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. He's from here to there, it's watching everywhere, and with rapid eyes, with its eyes, moving from here to there. They look like frightened beads. And now this is another thing. When the bird in its natural surroundings is comfortable, as soon as that natural surrounding is invaded upon by a human, the bird grows uncertain, doubtful, and in fact scared, apprehensive. They looked like frightened beads. Its eyes are now looking like beads are, moti hote hain, gold, it's round eyes hai, but they are now, abhi to uske andar certainty thi. Abhi to wo certainty se it went, it took its food, drank its water, let another natural thing pass, but now it's becoming scared, uncertain, doubtful. I thought he stirred his velvet head, and with uncertainty he's moving his velvet, means that shiny little head, it's moving like one in danger. And now the bird is sensing that there is some danger somewhere, that as long as it was in the lap of Mother Nature, nothing was wrong. But as soon as he's trying to, as soon as he comes out of that shell, as soon as that shell is broken by the invasion of a human, what happens? It becomes really scared, and it senses some danger. Cautious, I offered him a crumb. And now see, in Mother Nature, he is himself going and fending for himself. He is himself going and trying to find out his food and water. But now, he is weary of human beings. Cautious means, beta, he's becoming very scared. He's becoming very sort of cautious in the sense, careful. I offered him a crumb, and the poet then comes out of the window and tries to offer him a piece of bread. And he unrolled his feathers and rode him softer home. He did not take the bread from the poet. Okay? This shows what, children? This shows that we, the humans, the best creation of God, we have become so anti-nature that a little bird it's not comfortable in our company. It is scared, cautious, careful, that we might not endanger it, we might not hurt it. So basically he unrolled his feathers, he opened his feathers and rowed him softer. Rowing is the ship, the boat, when you row the boat. So with his wings he is rowing himself softer, means very gently, not taking the crumb. It tries to go home. Home means refuge, a place of safety, a place where it can feel comfortable, a place where it can feel she's writing he, so he can feel comfortable where he is away from the approach of human beings. Then oars divide the ocean, two silver for a same, or butterflies of banks of noon leap plashless as they swim. This beautiful word now, plashless, is absolutely her own creation, Plashless could be splashless, So then oars divide the ocean. When you're rowing and your oar divides the waves in the water body. Ocean means the water body. 2 silver for a same. And you know, the water bodies appears to be shining silvery in the sunlight. For a same means matlab it doesn't need any sort of correction. Same means a correction. 2 silver for a same. It appears to be absolutely dazzling and you know, silvery, the ocean. So how does the bird appear to be? Like those ocean, like those, her wings are moving in like oars that divide the water body, and she's absolutely silvery in the light of the sunlight. Okay, and or butterflies of banks of noon. Now what happens when it becomes a bit warmer in the noon time? The butterflies actually they leave their bushes and they start you know, coming towards the water bodies. They leap splashless as they swim. Splashless means without any splash, without any violence. They are swimming softly in the air over the warm, in the escaping the warmth of the bushes and over the water body. So it is this bird appears to be as beautiful as the oars or the butterflies that swim off the noontide. Now basically, what do you think is the title? A bird came down the walk. What do you think the title would mean? It is just a simple bird coming down the walk, having all the confidence as Mother Nature, having all the confidence in small things of Mother Nature, whether it be beetle or it be the dewdrop or it be the worm, but has got no respect, no faith in the best creation of Mother Nature, which is human beings. So I guess it is time for us to think. Corona has given us a lot of time, a lot of material to chew and cut, you know, to sort of, you know, go on ruminate. You can go on ruminating at things as how they are today, how we have plundered Mother Nature, how we have damaged Mother Nature, how we have been violent towards Mother Nature. You know what happens is like when you must have seen in a jungle fire, or when you cut forests, when you cut trees, cut a huge tree and see how many birds who have lost their nests and kids and children would be seen around you, so helpless, so tired, so not knowing what to do. So we are actually we're supposed to be human beings, but we are the beasts of the first order. We have plundered Mother Nature. Mother Nature has lost all confidence in us. Mother Nature doubts us, and look at the you know, words that have been used when the bird gets aware of the presence of the poet. He glanced with rapid eyes, they had hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened beads. I thought he stirred his velvet. He's stirring his velvety head means not sure. Stirring means he doesn't know whether to be there or not, or whether to fly away. And then he decides to fly away, far away. Home again means refuge, away from humans, in the lap of Mother Nature, in the lap of safety, where human beings definitely cannot find their way. So then oars divide the ocean. So this is now, these are the two you could say, you know, comparison similes, like, you know, she appeared to be that, like he appears to be. Then oars divide the ocean, 2 silver for a same, and or butterflies off banks of noon leap splashless as they swim. So basically these are the two comparisons that he's been compared to. You know, that like his wings are like oars which cleave or divide the water body, and the water body appears to be very, very bright in the sunlight, or the butterflies which fly off the bank and they swim on the water bodies to get moisture, or to get some kind of respite from the moisture, you know, from the heat, respite from the heat. They fly over the moisture. Now children, loads and loads of things to think. Somebody who's in love with death, somebody who's in love with immortality, somebody who talks of abstract love, somebody who talks of love in a very abstract fashion, to be honest, not abstract love, but love in an abstract fashion, is somebody who's talking of Mother Nature like this to you. You know, she's actually trying to tell you that this is the plight that we have put ourselves in, and it is very unfortunate, children. So basically, Two poems were dealing with the death, and this poem again deals with Mother Nature. I should, or I don't know whether I should be saying transcendentalism is all about soul, death and immortality, and stuff like this. You know, when you're talking of I shouldn't say metaphysical things, but I can, not in the sense of, you know, I'm not talking of metaphysical poetry, but then metaphysical things which are beyond the physical world. That is where we actually come and sort of, it is just, you know, this sort of the problematics of existence. I shall get a bit deeper into it for just a few seconds. The entire problem of being, of existence, 1, of doubting, 2, and then relinquishing, or basically either you give up or you reconcile. So basically this poem is all about being there and not being there. Being there as a poet, as somebody who's watching the bird, and not being there in the denial that the bird gives you. The bird completely denies your presence. The bird completely denies your power. Now you have to understand, you are more powerful than the worm. The poet is more powerful than the worm or the beetle. But your power is absolutely denied. Your power is absolutely, you know, just not taken care of. And you might think yourself to be the best in Mother Nature, the most powerful, the most intelligent. You know, you might be creating worlds, going to Mars, landing on moon. The bird doesn't care. The bird has shown you your place, and your place is of plunderers and freebooters, and the bird doesn't like you. The bird is uncertain. It doesn't even want to take a crumb of bread from you. So this is where you are. So that very, very being of yours is questioned by Mother Nature. This is the crisis of existence, as they say. We are there, but we are completely being rejected. Thank you.